I'm genuinely very excited to eat this for dinner later. Hello, welcome to Moonbelly Makes. My name is Katrina and welcome to my kitchen. Today I want to share with you one of my favorite ways to get a very veggie-full dinner on the table very, very quickly and with not very many dishes. I learned this technique from my friend Lily, who was my dear friend and neighbor and cooking buddy growing up. She moved in one house down from me when I was 4 and she was 3, so we've known each other for a really long time. And my confidence and kind of maybe adventurousness in the kitchen can really be traced back to all of the cooking projects that we did together when we were kids. We made a lot of mistakes, we made a ton of messes. A ton of messes, and also a lot of really successful and delicious things. And we even had like a fake cooking show for a while. It was called This and That and Chocolate Chips, which I'll never forget that. That is like burned into my brain. It also makes like this, what's happening right now, make a lot of sense. Like I've clearly been training for this moment for a really long time. Anyway, so aside from all the big projects and like the elaborate dinners that we did together, I remember when she taught me and her sister how to make this pasta. I've elaborated on it just a little bit. The technique is the same, but I've just added some greens and 2 kinds of cheese. It was originally vegan, so if you want to do it that way, just leave the cheese off and it will still be delicious and actually how Lily intended it to be. So this pasta is literally made in one pot, like actually. And if you have a microplane grater, it's also just one chop. You'll just need to literally chop a lemon in half. So anyways, this is how you do it.
This pasta recipe starts unsurprisingly with pasta. I like using a short pasta for this, and we'll need 16 ounces or 450 grams. Then we need a bunch of kale. I prefer curly kale for this recipe, but it works great with lacinato, aka Tuscan kale too. A pint or about 300 grams of cherry tomatoes, a 1/4 cup or 50 grams of olive oil, 3 to 5 cloves of garlic depending on how garlicky you like your life to be, a lemon that we will use the zest and juice from, 1 teaspoon or 3 grams of DC kosher salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. For topping at the end, I have some parm that I grated myself for more flavor, some whole milk ricotta, and some black pepper that I ground myself for, you guessed it, more flavor. A pot of very salty water goes on the biggest burner you have to find 212 Fahrenheit, aka boiling. My veggies were washed, but you can use this time to give your kale, tomatoes, and lemon a nice bath in some cool water. Once your produce is clean, let's make a landing zone in the sink. A big part of this sauce is made using the water that the pasta cooked in, and the best way that I have to make sure that I don't accidentally pour all of the valuable pasta water down the drain is to tuck a heat-proof measuring cup or jar in the colander as a visual reminder. I can't tell you how many times I have almost poured all the water down the drain and been saved by this little trick. I know this is a lot of kale. I want this meal to be a full meal all in one. Although it is good with a salad, I think there's plenty of veggies here to make a complete meal. This kale will shrink a ton when it's cooked, so I invite you to trust the process. I had already taken the stems off of this kale so that it would fit in my very small fridge, but here I am just tearing it into pieces that are about that big. I think that's about 1 or 2 inches or 3 to 5 centimeters square. Err on the side of smaller pieces because if they are too big, they'll just clump together and form a kale monster that will not want to disperse into the pasta. With the kale ready, it's time to pull out the microplane and get your garlic ready. If you don't have a microplane, you can mince or garlic press your garlic, but I highly recommend getting one of these. They aren't costly and I use it almost every day, either for garlic, ginger, citrus zest, hard cheeses like parm, or even whole nutmeg. Here is my method for using garlic on a microplane. Smashing garlic to remove the skin is a great technique if you're going to use a garlic press or mince it with a knife, but to grate it, you want an unsmashed clove. Instead, I like to twist the clove back and forth long ways to release it from its skin. Then hold it from the hard little root end and carefully grate it down until you have just the end in your fingertips. You'll have to swipe the underside of the microplane to release all of the garlic, and then you can place it in a little dish. Microplanes are super sharp, so proceed with extreme caution, especially if yours is brand new. For the lemon, we will zest first, using the same microplane into the same little dish. The flavor and oils of the lemon is in the yellow zest, so try not to go too deep into the white of the peel. Then the time has come. It's time to do your one chop. 3, 2, 1. Now that your lemon is chopped in half, use your favorite method to extract the juice. And I just use a fork, a trick I also learned from Lily. Then add the juice to your little dish as well, discarding any freeloading seeds that might try to come along for the ride. By this time, my water was boiling, so I put the pasta in and gave it a stir. The kale and tomatoes will go into the water as well, but I'm sorry to say that this part involves an eensy-weensy little bit of math to figure out when to put them in. How long you cook the pasta before the veggies go in depends both on your pasta cook level preference, as well as how long the specific pasta you have takes to cook. Let me break it down. I am team al dente, so I want to cook this pasta for 1 minute shy of the shorter time given on the pasta package, which means I want to cook this specific pasta for 9 minutes total. The tomatoes need about 3 to 4 minutes to cook, and the kale needs about 1 to 2 minutes. So here's the formula, if you can even call it that. The amount of time you want to cook your pasta is X. For me, 9 minutes. When the pasta goes in, set your timer for X minus 4, which for me is 5 minutes. When the timer goes off, in go the tomatoes. Set another timer for 2 minutes. When that timer goes off, in goes the kale. Let it wilt, stir it in, cook for another 60 to 90 seconds or so before turning off the heat. At this point, you're looking for tomatoes with skin that's starting to split, kale that is bright green but floppy, and pasta that is cooked perfectly to your liking. Save a cup or so of the pasta water and drain the whole pot into a big colander in the sink. Then you can dump the contents of the colander back into the pot and right away add the dish with the garlic, lemon zest, and juice. Give it a good stir so that the heat from the pasta can gently warm the garlic through so that it won't be so sharp and raw tasting. Make sure to break up any clumps of garlic or lemon zest. And then add your olive oil, salt, red pepper flakes, and about 1/4 cup of the pasta water. And this is where the magic happens. Stir with relative vigor, pausing to use the back of your spoon to press any unpopped tomatoes against the side of the pot. The juice from the tomatoes makes up a lot of the sauce, so make sure that you find and pop as many as you can. A word of caution though, please lean your head back while you do this so you don't get hot tomato juice in your face. Once all the tomatoes are popped, add more pasta water or a drizzle of olive oil to loosen the sauce if it's looking a tad dry, and taste for seasoning, adding more salt or red pepper flakes until it tastes just right. To serve, fill a bowl with a big scoop or 2 of pasta, and honestly, you could just eat it like this, and it's amazing. But personally, I like to sprinkle the whole plate with a little shower of parm, and place a big dollop of whole milk ricotta cheese right in the center. Burrata would also be delicious here. Ricotta and black pepper are one of my preferred flavor combos, so I put pepper just on the dollop. A drizzle of olive oil completes the dish, and there it is. If you're skipping the cheese, or even if you aren't, some fresh parsley or basil would not go amiss. I find there's plenty of flavor, and I wanted to keep this as simple as possible, so I usually skip the herbs unless I have some in the fridge that needs a home.
Gotta get my favorite fork. Okay, I'm actually so excited. So I'm gonna build my perfect bite, a little bit of everything. Cheers. Yeah, that's some good pasta. Honestly, I love it with the cheese on top, but it really doesn't need it. It's got so much flavor. It's super lemony and garlicky, obviously, with all the raw garlic that went in. It's got a whole bunch of kale in it. It's got so many greens. I love greens, so it's just a perfect meal, I think. Barely any prep, tons of flavor, lots of the food groups, not all of them, but a lot of them. A whole bunch of greens, 2 kinds of cheese, and then you got a little bit of heat because I put the red pepper flakes in, which you could totally skip if you're not into it. I think also you could really play around with what toppings. It would probably be really good with toasted panko on top, maybe with a little olive oil, a little garlic. You could even take some garlic and, well, I'm just going off the deep end here, but you could even take some garlic and slice it really thinly and then fry it in a little bit of olive oil just for a couple of moments, just so it starts to turn golden, so you could put garlic chips on top. That would be a lot of garlic, but I wouldn't mind that. I don't know about you. That's all I can think of, but maybe let me know what you would put on top of this pasta. I don't know, there's just tons of ways you could make this pasta your own, and I really think you should make it. Genuinely, it's so good. It's so good.
So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that this little video inspired you to either make this recipe or something like it. So if you want to let me know how you would change the recipe to make it your own, would you put some capers in it? Would you use like asparagus or green beans instead of the kale? What would you do? For the full recipe and all the details as well as the full story, you can head to my website. Also on my website and also here I have a big baking project that I'm doing, and then stuff out of the kitchen that I like to make, like crafting DIY stuff. So if any of that interests you, you can head to my website and it's all there. You can also find me on Instagram. We can stay connected that way. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you again for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.